Welcome to our webinar today. I hope you can hear me. I will do a quick sound check and we will get started in just a moment. My name is Gareth DYKE. This is a webinar brought to you jointly by Bentham Science and Diffusion Editing. You can see, I hope, the first slide on our screen, and if you would like to say something, please use the chat box on the right hand side of the webinar screen. I would like to initially just check that everybody out there can hear me okay. So if you can hear me, let's get some messages in the chat box to make sure that the sound is working properly. We will get started with our webinar in just a moment. We are talking today about managing medical writing, how you can write medical articles effectively, and the differences between medical article writing and other kinds of academic article writing. Excellent, excellent, excellent. I can see that people are writing to me in the chat box. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, whatever time it is in your part of the world, listening to this joint presentation between Diffusion Editing and Bentham Science. Let me remind you as we get started that our colleagues at Bentham Science publish a huge range of open access and other kinds of hybrid journals and ebooks. Perhaps these are of interest to you or to your institution. They would be happy to hear from you at the end of this presentation if you find this webinar to be of use. And I see that lots and lots of people have joined us for this presentation from all over the place. So thanks again for listening. We're going to get started with our presentation. Today, we are going to be talking about managing medical writing. My name is Gareth DYKE. I have a background as an academic researcher and also as a journal manager, writing and publishing my own academic work. I'm a biologist. I've worked as a consultant for a number of medical agencies, journals, including the World Health Organization. So I hope that some of the insights, some of the tricks, some of the tips that I will pass on in this presentation today will be useful to you in your writing career as academics, as medical researchers. Let's get going. If you're interested in learning more about any of our services, you can have a look at the link in the link here on the slide, or you can get in touch with our team directly at the end of the presentation. You're probably asking yourself, what are we going to talk about in this presentation today? Well, let's just have a quick look. We're going to talk about three related issues in our presentation today. We are going to initially be talking about how you can get started with your writing, tricks and tips for success as an academic, as a writer. Then we're going to be looking at what comes first in a medical article, that tricky issue in particular of data presentation, because this is often what we do first as researchers, as medical researchers, as academics. We initially collect data and we have to present that data before we start to write the article. And then thirdly, a key issue in medical writing, we are going to have a look at some ethical issues that authors around the world, in our experience, handling and managing academic articles, managing journal submission systems. These are the kinds of issues that authors often encounter, especially coming from a medical perspective. So starting to write, what comes first in a medical paper, and those medical ethical issues that people often find so difficult to manage in particular. And the point of all of this, the reason that we provide this training to help our colleagues around the world, is in order to help people to be as effective as possible as academics writing and publishing your work. That's why we provide this training. That's what all of this is all about. So we will get started by thinking about what is it that's unique about medical writing. What makes medical writing, writing articles in medicine and medicine-related disciplines, so different from other academic disciplines? Well, let's start by thinking about this. Writers, medical researchers are often extremely busy, especially at the moment, of course. There are competing time demands. We work with lots of hospital doctors. We work with lots of active practitioners, medical practitioners, who are also trying to write up and publish their research. It's also the case that medical research articles often need to be more generally accessible than research in other fields. And so the message, the immediate, clear message, has to be there in the writing. And medical researchers deal with a very large, a very dynamic, and an ever-changing literature, perhaps more so than is the case in many other academic disciplines. There's often large amounts of new information to synthesize and collate. So this can be challenging for people as they start to think about how they're going to find the time to write up their research. Now they've collected the data, they're thinking about what they can write up, they're thinking about which journals they can use for their articles. Medical articles are different from other kinds of academic papers because of the sheer volume of information, the range of different audiences who are keen to digest that information, not just other researchers, but maybe policymakers, government policymakers, and also members of the public. We're interested if we have a condition, a medical condition. Members of the public are often interested in reading technical literature, peer-reviewed literature around that area. So think about these issues as we start to think about how we can effectively write up and publish our medical articles, the speed at which the field is changing, and of course the competing demands made on researchers by the public, policymakers, and other scientists, of course. Other fields of research, many other examples of other fields of research, there's not these competing demands from members of the public, policymakers, perhaps at the government level, and other scientists. Lots of researchers in other fields are only targeting their research at other interested scientists within their particular discipline. So these related factors make medical articles different to other kinds of academic papers. And of course, there are also differences in the kinds of articles